Part 10. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 91. This MSCAOGAGA glanced out with a guilty look. It's very difficult to get the space button task. It can only be given out for free after completing the sanatorium task, and the patients in the sanatorium have a special status. The two of us, I'm afraid the little girl will only be able to get tea and water, beat her arms and pinch her legs, and she may not be able to collect all the red badges to exchange for rewards after working so hard for a long time. Bai Jian-chun looked at her with incomprehensible eyes. So you were just trying to trick me into forming a team? Caogajia smiled dryly. How can I be deceived? I also have a way. My uncle is a first-class pharmacy master. He was specially invited by the official of Shaking Light Star. I can take you with him when the time comes. Sneak in and become my uncle's little assistant, so that you can collect red badges faster. It's just that my great-grandfather's starship is later than mine, and we have to wait until the afternoon to get to the Shaking Star, so we can wait and do other tasks and then do the space network task in the afternoon. After listening, Bai Jian-chun's slightly frowned eyebrows relaxed. She thought for a moment and said, "Okay, let's do other tasks first." After all, speeding was the first reason why she came to Light Star. Hee, that's great. Caogajia breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this, and asked Bai Jian-chun, "So, little sister, what kind of power do you have? Let me see what mission we can do." Wood type. I am also a wood element. What a coincidence. Then we can go to Central Park to work on growing plants. The wood source star has fully recovered a few days ago, and the wood element of the Huayao Empire has returned. Otherwise, the plants in Central Park, there will definitely not be many people with wood-type powers to participate in the spawning activities, but now it's better. There are enough wood-type powers, especially since the Shaking Light Star is close to the wood source star, and more wood elements are radiated. After we spawn plants, the wood elements can getting replenished in time is a good opportunity to practice your abilities, and you can both practice your abilities and do tasks in exchange for free rewards. Caogajia clasped her hands excitedly, and then she couldn't hold back her words. She kept chattering all the way. Ah, that's right, I also heard that the Star Master of the Origin Star can be promoted to a superpower level after contracting. This is great. You don't have to practice by yourself. Damn it, I envy the Star Master of the Muyuan Star. I heard that Muyuan Star Master was a 19-year-old girl, and one of the most outstanding contributors behind the Border Star combat team a year ago. However, she was seriously injured. It was said that she almost died at the beginning. Thinking about it this way, I don't know if it's a loss or a profit. Muyuan Star Lord himself, Bai Jian-chun, he must have made a profit. Along the way, Bai Jian-chun was led by this chatty little girl and said a few more words. Although she was a little impatient, compared to the chatty Dueli, she felt that she was more interested in this little girl who was 2 years older than herself. They are more tolerant, and all in all, we get along pretty well. Soon, the speed car took them to the first stop of their destination, Central Park. This park is really big. It is located in the center of the entire Shaking Star. It is circular in shape and covers an area of several thousand acres. The planting facilities inside are quite good, but the greening is not very good and the plant coverage is relatively low. Now only the area in the east is red and green, filled with fresh and vibrant flowers, plants, and trees. At the entrance of the park, people were coming and going. People wearing red armbands lined up in 2 rows and stood guard there. When someone walked in, a person wearing red armbands would come over and ask. When Bai Jian-chun and Caogajia walked over, it was the turn of an ant with a warm smile. She had a red armband on the sleeve of her right arm. She greeted them with a smile and asked, "The 2 little girls are here to play in the park, or are you here to participate in charity activities?" Caogia answered obediently, Auntie, we are wood-type supernatural beings, and we are here to participate in charity activities. I don't know how it was arranged. What do we need to do? The ant immediately smiled even more enthusiastically. She liked such a well-behaved and polite little girl. She patted her chest and said cheerfully, You are asking the right person. I am responsible for this matter. I still have these red armbands. Where is the squad leader? Let's go, I'll take you to get the mission. Thank you, Auntie. We promise to complete the task quickly and well. Caogia plays the role of a well-behaved little girl next door. She is really well-behaved. She doesn't look like the iron-toothed rabbit who was angry at the evil old lady before. Her little mouth is still very sweet, and Bai Qian-chun is in with occasional assists from the side. The two girls kept the enthusiastic ant so excited that she almost gave up the job of getting the red armband by squeezing through thousands of troops. Fortunately, she stepped back from the brink and woke up in time, but in the end, Bai Qian-chun and Caogia chose the simplest job of spawning 30 broken star flowers. Here are 30 seeds. Take them. Once all 30 broken star flowers have sprouted, you can put a red seal on them. Bai Qian-chun looked at the small black seeds in her hand, her dark eyes flashed, and she raised her eyebrows and asked, Then if I receive 300 seeds at a time, can I exchange them for a flying car directly after the birth is completed? The enthusiastic ant looked at her in surprise, and then said disapprovingly, Little girl, you have to do what you can. Although it is the simplest job to give birth to broken star flowers, it is also difficult. After so many days, I have received there were at least 30 or 40 wood-type superpowers who had received the task of breaking the star flowers. At first, they looked down on these 30 plants and insisted on receiving 300 plants. As a result, they were able to spawn all of them in one day. None of them did. The one who completed the most was an A-level wood-type superpower. He spawned 210 plants, and the remaining 90 plants were completed only after he came the next day. Hearing this, Caogia, who was eager to try, retreated, Well, let me start with 90 plants. I am a B-level superpower, and 90 plants should be able to complete it. Bai Qian-chun, however, insisted on her original intention and said, I still want 300 plants. I'm sorry to bother you, Aunt. Seeing her stubborn persistence, the enthusiastic ant was helpless. Okay, the little girl is very competitive. I can understand it, Auntie, but you have to keep the seeds you haven't produced. If you lose this, you have to do it yourself compensated. Bai Qian-chun's eyes were slightly curved and she was in a better mood. Okay, Aunt, don't worry, I will definitely be able to complete the task. No one believed this, whether it was the enthusiastic ant or the steward who distributed the seeds. Even Miss Caogia looked at her hesitantly, but in the end no one came forward to stop her forcefully. They just waited. I watched her break through the south wall so she could turn around. It's a pity that Bai Qian-chun is destined to disappoint them. She can really produce 300 broken star flowers, and she can even give birth to more. Her idea was to get free rides, and of course the more she could bring back, the better. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 92. Bai Qian-chun and Caogia were taken to a corner of the park by the enthusiastic ant. The flower garden area, flower bed area, and walkway area had all been clearly planned, but because the original green area only had scattered plants, it still looked empty. There are many benches placed on both sides of the road for people to rest, and now there are scattered people who are tired from walking and sit down to rest. There is a large circular flower bed in the center, which is covered with fresh soil. It is said to be the high-priced nutritious soil transported from the Earth source star. It is especially suitable for planting flowers and grass. It can be seen that the shaking light star also spent a lot of money to build this central park. The price is painstaking. You can plant it here. This circle of flower beds is planned to plant broken star flowers. Remember to turn on the optical brain video during the birth process, and then take the video to the management office to get it stamped later. The enthusiastic aunt showed them the place and explained the situation to the two little girls. Then she pointed to a few people on the other side of the flower garden uneasily, lowered her voice and approached them to remind them kindly, they are here to promote the broken star flowers just like you. You'd better stay away for a while, otherwise some people who love to take advantage see that you two girls are thin-skinned and easy to bully, so they will find excuses to ask you to help. Ganja Rabbit Caogia smiled politely, Auntie, don't worry, we won't let them succeed. If you want to take advantage of her, see if she doesn't make them look green in the face. Bai Qian-chun raised her eyebrows, well, I don't mind helping people see a doctor for free, just looking at the symptoms without treating them. Caogia glanced at her and immediately understood the meaning of her words, and then the two of them looked at each other and smiled in tacit understanding. The enthusiastic aunt on the side was very depressed. What kind of riddle were these two little girls playing? But the smile is really pretty, especially the little girl wearing a black mask. Even if she can't see her whole face, with the aunt's sharp eyesight over the years, she can tell at a glance that this little girl is definitely very beautiful. Little girl. Look, even if she could only see those autumn eyes with a faint smile, she found it pleasing to the eye. Auntie is also a very sincere person who controls her appearance. No, she was so fascinated by these beautiful eyes that she couldn't walk. She originally just needed to get the person and leave, but now she decided to stay here for a while to support the two little girls. Bai Qian-chun saw the aunt's kindness, the corners of her mouth curled up slightly, and then she found a place 1 meter away from Caogia and started sowing seeds. With a wave of his hand, all 300 flower seeds were scattered at once. Caogia's eyelids jumped and she was a little worried. If she didn't rush them all, it would be difficult to get such small flower seeds back, and she would have to pay compensation. Just when she and the enthusiastic aunt were worried, a miracle happened. In the flower bed covered with dark soil, after a ball of green light passed by, small green buds sprouted up quickly. They looked dense and dense. Under the warm light, the small buds showed their vigorous vitality. Then these young green buds began to grow, branch out, and grow leaves, followed by slender green leaf plants that took off, and beautiful beige flowers that looked like broken stars were dotted on the green leaves. The beige flowers bloomed more and more, forming a neat rectangular shape. From a distance, these small flowers smaller than a fingernail swayed in the wind, just like its name, twinkling like a beautiful and bright of broken stars. Hiss, the enthusiastic aunt was dumbfounded, my dear, you gave birth in one go. This little girl is really capable. Bai Qian-chun turned to look and bent her eyes at her, do you need to count the number? The aunt smiled so hard that she couldn't see her teeth, and waved her hands quickly, no, 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 aunt believes that you are a good girl with good conduct. Besides, you have given birth to so many children at once, and you still look like you are relaxed and powerful. How can you be less like this? One or two of them lied to me. Caogia also nodded excitedly, and then she rubbed her hands and sprinkled the 90 flower seeds in her hands eagerly, planning to show off her gorgeous skills. The enthusiastic aunt then turned her gaze and stared at the flower garden with bright eyes. The two little girls came together. One was so good and it made no sense that the other was inferior, so the light in the aunt's eyes was particularly fiery and bright. Just in the blink of an eye, 300 broken star flowers bloomed. She didn't even see what was going on. This time she had to keep a close eye. But 1 minute passed, 2 minutes passed, 3 minutes passed, and 10 minutes passed. Only a little bit of green emerged from the 90 flower seeds, which were as thin as the tip of a needle. Looking at Caogia, who was giving birth, the little girl's smooth forehead was now covered with fine beads of sweat. She gritted her teeth and held it in as if she was having sex, which made her delicate face turn red. Enthusiastic and, my expectations were in vain. At first I thought it was two kings who came together as a team, but now it seems that one king brought a bronze to play. Sure enough, the kings don't just grab handfuls and gather them together. It is common sense for a king to bring a bronze. After another 3 minutes, Caogia gave up her strength and slumped down. She gasped and said in frustration, "I can't do it, I can't do it." It turns out that flowers are still difficult to induce birth. It's easy only for young ladies. Her eyes widened again, and she suddenly became energetic again, so I'm so lucky. I didn't pick up a handsome young lady but a big guy. Bai Jianchun, who was looked at by her sparkling eyes, was currently being entangled by a combination of two old ladies and a strong man. Not only did the two old ladies look similar to the street ants she had met in her previous life, they also had the same methods. He can sell it and spread it miserably, and he can even sacrifice his big son to threaten him. As soon as they saw Bai Qianchun's stunt of letting hundreds of flowers blossom with just one wave of her hand, the two old men and one strong man, who had not completed the task after hard work, became interested in her. First, two old ladies came over and made a fuss, saying that they were only 1 or 2 plants away from completing the task, and asked the little girl to help them. Bai Qianchun disagreed, and the two old ladies suddenly pulled their faces and said, he put his hands on his hips and started to curse. The words were harsh and scolding, and they all said that this little girl had a bad conscience and didn't know how to respect the old, love the young, help the old, the weak, the sick, etc. Seeing that Bai Jianchun still had no intention of helping them, the brawny son behind them was called out to scare them. The strong man's son first showed off his strong biceps to Bai Jianchun, and then showed off his strong figure and fists as big as sandbags. When the little girl refused to submit, the strong man became angry and directly punched her. Then his wrist was grabbed by Bai Qianchun's small and weak hand. The strong man roared in pain and his arm was almost broken. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 93. The enthusiastic ant raised her eyebrows and raised her feet to help out. Look at the strong man kneeling on the ground, and look at the shabby old woman hugging each other and shivering. Hiss, the little girl is a bit cruel. Bai Qianchun felt that she was quite innocent. She had only planned to help people get free medical treatment. Who knew that this big man's anger level was so low? Before she even opened her mouth to taunt him, he went crazy and punched. What could she do? She didn't want to hide, so she had to catch the person and give him a kick to cut off the chance for him to do anything again. After such an experience, the enthusiastic ant finally no longer had to worry about the two little girls being bullied, but she still did not leave. After enthusiastically calling the patrol team to take the two old and one strong people away for ideological education, the ant used to see glowing gold eyes looked at Bai Qianchun, and with a Yanko-like pace, he enthusiastically and proactively proposed to take her to hand in tasks, and then come back with more tasks. Since the little girl's wood-type abilities are so strong, of course she should continue to work hard and shine. So Bai Qianchun had a dedicated leader. With a well-rounded and enthusiastic ant helping to speak for herself, she doesn't have to go through several trips to receive tasks. She can receive more than 10 or 20 tasks at once, and then take the seeds to bloom all over Central Park. Gathering wool has also become more convenient. The enthusiastic ant is also very happy. The more the little girl gives birth to, the more her performance commission will be. No, when the two of them cooperate like this, everyone will be fine. The only bad thing is that they are left in the original place. Caogia is still struggling with the 90 broken starflower seedlings. With Baikan Chun's stimulation, Miss Caogiagia, who was left alone by the flower garden, was not very happy to slowly induce the baby. She held back her energy and squeezed the superpower out of the superpower core. As long as she doesn't give up, she can still come out after squeezing. In the end, through her efforts, the results were remarkable. She successfully gave birth to 90 broken star flowers more than half an hour earlier than she expected. Caogiagia wiped her sweat and looked at the fruits of her hard work with a satisfied smile on her face. But just when she was stretching and about to leave to hand in the task, a dry, skinny old arm suddenly stretched out from beside her, and broke several of her broken star flowers in one blow, and the little flowers were broken into small pieces. It fell down with a swishing sound. Caogiagia was stunned on the spot and looked up angrily at the owner of the hand. There was an old man who was taller than her, with a wrinkled old face and gloomy eyes. She screamed angrily, "What are you doing?" When the old man heard her question, he didn't feel guilty at all. Instead, he glanced at her with an irritated look on his arrogant face, and mocked her in a sinister way, "Hey, why don't you just take a picture? The little girl shouldn't be so grumpy at such a young age." Caogiagia's face was distorted with anger. Who on earth is so angry? This person who said, "Old man, I am very irritable, please don't touch me," actually had the nerve to call her irritable? When the enthusiastic and happily led by Jian Chun, who had planted a circle with 20 cards that could be exchanged for 20 speed cars, and finally said that she wanted to stop for a rest, she saw Caogiagia's little the girl was glaring at the edge of the flower garden with an arrogant old man wearing a casual white undershirt. "Are you competing to see who has the biggest eyes?" the enthusiastic aunt came over and asked with a confused look on her face. The old man and the young man hurriedly separated, glaring at each other and snorting. Caogiagia immediately pointed at the old man and complained aggrievedly, "Auntie, call the patrol guards to arrest this old man for ideological education. He even maliciously destroyed plants. Look, he destroyed several of the broken star flowers I just spawned." The broken star flower she gave birth to was like a child she raised, and her emotions were definitely different from those of other flowers. Who knew that this grumpy old man would slap her flower under her nose? How could she endure it? The old man was unconvinced and mocked, "I just discounted a few flowers. Old man, I just don't like these flowers. What's the matter? Anyway, now that Muyuan Star has reopened, this broken star flower is also blooming. It's not about protecting the plants anymore. I can attack them however I want. The worst I can do is lose money. I have plenty of money." Caogiagia was so angry that her teeth were itching, and she pulled Auntie's arm, her face flushed with anger. "Auntie, you see he is still so arrogant, you must arrest him and give him a profound ideological education." The enthusiastic aunt nodded immediately, and was about to agree to call the patrol team over, when a young steward covered in famous brands who was patrolling on the side walked over first. He glanced at them, with threats and disdain in his eyes. This old gentleman was specially asked by the person in charge above to take more care of him. Aunt Wang must not do unnecessary things. Hearing this, the old man raised his chin proudly, the expression on his face became more arrogant, and the look he looked at Caogiagia was even more disdainful and contemptuous. Caogiagia was so angry that there were people behind this damn power relationship who couldn't handle it, right? The enthusiastic aunt didn't look very good either, but she moved her mouth but didn't dare to say anything more. Bai Qian-chun frowned, and her eyes scanned the surroundings as more and more people came to watch the fun. The park manager she had seen before was also hiding in the crowd and looking at them. Obviously he just wanted to watch the excitement but had no intention of coming out. A cold light flashed in her dark eyes, and Caogiagia, who was shaking with anger and wanted to go out and seek justice personally, took a step forward and spoke with a cold voice. "If I remember correctly, Yeoguang Star officially announced that this Central Park was built for all Yeoguang Star citizens. then this place does not belong to the property of any one of them, but to all star citizens. Your superiors, the person in charge, has no right to forgive this old gentleman on behalf of all the star citizens, and to let the matter go gently. Otherwise, if this time he can rely on his connections to avoid education and punishment, then there will definitely be others who will follow his example. By then, the interests of the star citizens will only be damaged more and more. If basic interests cannot be guaranteed, then there is nothing else to talk about. From the perspective of the Central Garden, the focus of this charity event, I can suspect that the management of Yeo Guangxing also has the same problem. And is this charity event really for charity? Or is it for charity? Is this a face-saving project to upgrade the planet? Can the welfare benefits that star citizen will enjoy when they move to Shake Light Star officially announced before be implemented? Don't let the welfare benefits go to waste just because you provoke a person with connections behind the scenes. These words were so thought-provoking that the people who gathered around to watch the excitement could not help but start whispering. This little girl is right, what is at stake is their interests, and what she said is not empty talk. Many people even understand it deeply. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 94. A middle-aged man with a vicissitude of life said with a sigh on his face, I taught a scumbag a lesson in order to save people, but it turned out that behind that scumbag was an uncle who was a high-level official of Yeo Guangxing. After that, our family was crazily targeted, and the star that was originally given to us, the benefits of citizenship, are gone, and my chance for promotion is gone. I am planning to take advantage of this charity event to make some money and then immigrate with my whole family. A beautiful girl beside him couldn't help but burst out full of grievances. I don't want to be the girlfriend of a dandy nobleman. And then my father was put under pressure. My father turned out to be in the environmental department of Shake Light Star. He is a small clerk, but he was dismissed by his boss a few days ago. He can only resume his original position if I agree to be the girlfriend of the noble young master. My father has no choice now. The whole family relies on his work to support him. He has been forcing me to throw myself into his arms in recent days, but I already have someone I like, and I don't want to be a lover for a libertine. I just want to marry a husband who cherishes me and truly loves me. What have I done wrong? Why are you forcing me like this? So I plan to make a final struggle and take this opportunity to get more rewards and save some star coins. If the person I like is willing, I will elope with him. If he doesn't want me, I will run away by myself. I don't want to be in this situation for a moment. Let's continue to live on the shining star of human rights. Me, I have it too. When there is one, there are two, and when there are two, there are three. Even Bai Qianchun did not expect that there were so many dirty things hidden on this shaking light star. She couldn't stand the fact that the old man and the young man in charge wearing brand names were bullying others and being so arrogant, but she didn't really want to do anything big. After all, it wasn't a crime for the old man to destroy flowers and plants. At most, it was just a fine and an ideological education. Whether it's a big deal or a small matter, it's indeed quite small. If there is someone on top of it, it's very simple to handle it gently. So in order to make Caogia say this and let the old man get the ideological education he deserved, she pulled out such a big tiger flag, just to make them afraid and not dare to handle it lightly. But now this commotion is a bit unstoppable. The director of Central Park, who was hiding in the crowd, never expected that the little girl would be so articulate and pointed at the skinny little one, let alone the group of people who came to participate in charity activities. There are still so many victims who are dissatisfied with the shaking light star among the people. At the moment when the shaking light star is rising, if this really gets too big and makes the headlines in the interstellar public opinion, wouldn't it be life-threatening? The general manager's face turned green. Now they were at a critical moment and they couldn't make any mistakes. Otherwise, he, the general manager of Central Park, would definitely be ruined, and the senior officials would have to skin him. Therefore, I can only apologize to the old gentleman first. The general manager wiped his sweat and quickly squeezed out from the crowd with a chubby face and a nervous smile on his face. He rubbed his hands nervously and said, "Little girl, don't get me wrong. We definitely didn't mean that. It's because the old gentleman is not in good health that I let him go. Please take more care of me so that you can seek medical treatment in time. I have absolutely no intention of taking care of you. It's just that this young man, Xiaoliu, has misunderstood me." As he spoke, he called the patrol team over with a solemn expression, since the old gentleman has destroyed the environment and according to the rules, ideological education must be carried out. You can take the old gentleman over and talk about it. However, the old gentleman is not in good health. Please pay attention carefully a little bit. With his decisive attitude and the fact that he let people take care of the old man's health openly, some onlookers who didn't know the situation really believed his words. Moreover, the general person in charge has very good adaptability. After handling the matter, he said sincerely and seriously, "As for the high-level issues that the little girl mentioned about our Yeo Guangstar, I can guarantee here that our Yeo Guangstar will star is definitely a fair and just place. Even if there are some mistakes, they are definitely just personal mistakes. I am here to give you a piece of advice to all star citizens. If star citizens encounter unfair treatment, you can directly report it to our Yeo Guangstar Law Enforcement Brigade. Our Law Enforcement Brigade will definitely deal with it impartially. So please do not do anything in private. Create rumors, otherwise if you endanger Shaking Light Star, you will also be arrested for spreading rumors and causing trouble. When the time comes, this matter will be recorded in the files and affect you for life." When he beat him down with jujube and sticks, the star citizens who were still venting in private immediately fell silent, and the commotion at the scene also subsided. Those who have never been persecuted don't take it seriously and just accept it as a funny story. Those who have been persecuted do not dare to speak out, because they know that the last words of the person in charge are warning them. Of course, they have been oppressed and cannot be so stupid as to believe his words. They have not been forced into a desperate situation, and they are still there is room for change, so I don't dare to resist, lest I get targeted and then I can't leave. It will be really miserable. Bai Qianchun immediately understood the twists and turns in this. But since they had no intention of coming forward, she didn't want to meddle in their own business. She just looked at the relieved general manager and boldly asked, "I won't be judged because of this, right? I've done a lot of tasks for your Central Park, but I haven't redeemed the rewards yet. You won't be trying to prevaricate me by saying things like first come first served when the rewards are gone, right?" The general manager tried his best to keep smiling. "How come? As long as we complete the task, we will definitely redeem the rewards. As long as there are rewards on the taskbar now, there will be an unlimited supply during the public welfare activities." Bai Qianchun nodded, "That's good. I can do a few more tasks. Your managers won't stop me from getting more at once, right? As long as you can do it, of course." So Bai Qianchun was satisfied, and the person in charge left with a decent smile. The young man wearing brand name clothes hurriedly followed him, until the crowd could no longer see him. The fat man in charge's face turned gloomy. He slapped the young man on the head and roared angrily, "Are you stupid? How dare you say that in public? I don't know what period our Shake Light Star is in now. If this matter gets too big today, I'll see if the higher UPS will skin you." The famous young man was trembling and aggrieved. "I didn't expect that woman wearing a mask to be so brave, so what should I do now?" The person in charge of the overall score had sinister eyes and gritted his teeth and said, "What else can I do? I will report this matter to the Star Master. If the Star Network ferments, the Star Master will stop it, but this account must be borne by you or you if the family comes out. As for your punishment, it will depend on whether you are willing to bleed." The young man knew that this expense was indispensable, but it was good to be able to spend money to eliminate the disaster. At the same time, in his heart, he simply hated the instigator of wearing the mask. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi Y. Chapter 95. In the park, the crowd dispersed, and the enthusiastic Ant couldn't laugh anymore. Her family is an ordinary star citizen, with a large family to support. Although she also knows that the two girls did nothing wrong, she is not willing to take the consequences of offending the petty person in charge of the appointment. It was a joke, so I could only hide my conscience and say goodbye to them. Cao Gia stamped her feet with a depressed look on her face. Why is this? That ant was so enthusiastic just now. Bai Qianchun played with a few seeds in her hand, and said with a wandering eye, she is a star citizen of the fluctuating light planet. She will live here from now on. She is different from us, and she is just a stranger. You don't have to think too much. She has become indifferent to human nature. She accepts it with a kind heart, and there is no need to be persistent when she leaves. The ant just now also got a lot of rewards with her, and now she doesn't owe anyone anything. Cao Gia held her hand with concern. Well, anyway, I am on your side and will not abandon you, and the cause of the incident just now was also mine. Bai Qianchun looked back, took her hand out, smiled and patted her shoulder. You don't have to worry about it. You're right. It's fine as long as you have a clear conscience. Now let's continue farming. Oh, I understand. By the way, my great-grandfather's starship is coming soon. Do you still want to go to the nursing home? Go, why don't you go? I've earned so many rewards but I don't have anything to put them back. I'm missing a space button. Okay, let's go then. I'll contact my uncle and we'll meet directly at the entrance of the nursing home. Although the sanatorium covers an area half smaller than that of Central Park, it has a quiet environment, surrounded by green trees, many flowers and fruit trees. The landscape layout is particularly beautiful, and the building facilities are also extremely luxurious. When Bai Qianchun and Cao Gia walked up the white marble steps at the entrance of the nursing home, Cao Gia's grandfather Cao Ting was already waiting at the gorgeous revolving door. Although he is a grandfather, he does not look like a grandfather at all in appearance, because he has a young and handsome face of 27 or 28 years old, with elegant features and a graceful demeanor. The temperament accumulated over the years can tell that he is not the kind of young man who is full of energy and is still at a frivolous age. But according to Cao Gia, although his eldest grandfather has not yet married and had children, he is indeed 230 years old this year. It's just that her grandfather is a gold-type SSS level superpower. The SSS level is already the top figure on the interstellar pyramid. And reaching the SSS level is equivalent to breaking through a realm. Not only does his lifespan increase to 1,000 years, he can also choose your appearance. Of course it's not the kind where Sun Wukong's 72 transformations can change his appearance at will, but it means being able to control how old his appearance can stay. Apparently Cao Gia's grandfather set his appearance age at 27 or 80 years old after breaking through the SSS level. An age group that is mature, not frivolous, and can best display masculine charm. Here, let's go, my patient is already waiting. Grandpa Cao, who was standing at the door, raised his phoenix eyes, glanced at the two little girls with a clear look, and said expressionlessly. The staff leading the way also turned to look at them in surprise and asked respectfully, Master Cao, who are these two? My granddaughter and her friends are here for a mission. You can help them arrange it and be my assistants. The staff member smiled and did not refute his small request. He accepted it easily. Okay, Master Cao, don't worry, we will make arrangements for your granddaughter and her friends. Yes, Cao Ting responded lightly, and soon another staff member came to entertain them. Grandpa Cao Ting looked lukewarm and expressionless, and even his eyes were a little vacant and did not fall on them, but the unexpected arrangement was quite appropriate. Cao Gia chuckled and touched Baikin Chun's shoulder with her arm. I said it would be good to hang out with my uncle. This way, as an assistant, we don't have to worry about patients deliberately tormenting us. Bai Chun nodded and looked at Cao Ting with a curious look. This was the first SSS-level top powerhouse she had met in the interstellar world, and he was also a gold-type person. But he doesn't have the piercing edge of the metal element at all. His temperament is calm and his aura is very well controlled. His whole person is as quiet as a bamboo, and he looks more like a wood element user. It wasn't until Cao Ting sensed something and looked over with her empty eyes that she bent her eyes, nodded slightly to him and then calmly followed Cao Gia to follow the staff. Cao Ting narrowed his eyes, and an unknown light flashed across his pale eyes, but he soon returned to his natural state, and then he said to the staff in front, I'll go up first, and you can bring them up later to find them. Okay, Master Cao. At the same time, Bai Chun and Cao Gia have been led to the task receiving stage. This is the central hall of the sanatorium. The entire hall is decorated in a beige tone. The floor is clean and translucent like white jade tiles. The tables, chairs, tables, furnishings and the large beige gemstone chandelier hanging from the ceiling all exude low-key luxury. The front desk where tasks are handed out is also a beige and translucent marble table. It looks extremely gorgeous and elegant. I have to say that the decoration design here is so great that Bai Chun wants to move back to Muiyuan planet. A large screen is projected on the wall behind the front desk. The top line of the large screen reads, Sanatorium Special Reward Redemption and Task Distribution Point. Bai Chun looked down at the content curiously. Redeemable rewards and requirements. 15 cubic meters space button, 90 red stamps are required. 30 cubic meters space button, 200 red stamps are required. 50 cubic meters space button, 500 red stamps are required. 100 cubic meters of space, 1000 red stamps are required. Available task bars. 1. Accompany and talk to the patient in bed 5 for 3 hours, 3 red badges. 2. Tell a joke to the patient in bed number 3 and make the patient laugh 3 times, 3 red badges. 4. Follow the nurse as a cleaner, 5 red badges per hour. 5. Work as a nurse for the patient in bed number 8. You need to serve tea, pour water, tell stories, tell jokes, etc. Skills, 10 red badges per hour. 6. Serve as a fire extinguisher for patient number 10. You need to hit or scold him at will, and never look back at the patient's face, 50 red badges per hour. 7. Take care of patient number 20. The patient suffers from severe mania. The person who accepts the task needs strong force to suppress the patient but is not allowed to harm the patient. There is no compensation for being injured by the patient. Please accept the task carefully, 80 reds per hour. Chapter 8. A doctor's assistant needs a certain amount of medical knowledge and is not allowed to cheat. If caught, he will be severely punished, 80 red badges per hour. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 96. By analogy, there are many similar related tasks, but most of them are still hard-working tasks that require serving patients. Now Bai Chun understands what Cao Gia said before about patients deliberately tormenting people. Sure enough, there is no such thing as a free lunch. The value of the space button is so high, and the price to get it is not small. Just from the tasks on the taskbar, you know that these patients are not easy to serve. So compared to being a medical assistant who can get 80 red badges per hour, it is already a pretty good job. For the sake of Uncle Cao, the staff who led them to receive the task arranged this task for them. Bai Jianchun held the work ID worn by the assistant in her hand, stared at the screen with her dark eyes, and asked thoughtfully, "Do you have the task of treating patients?" The staff member who led them here was a somewhat handsome young man. Hearing this, his handsome face with thin skin and tender flesh showed a bit of surprise. He took a deep look at Bai Jianchun and said, "Yes, there are, but almost no one picks up." As he spoke, he clicked on a button at the front desk, and the screen immediately changed to another interface. Special medical tasks and rewards. 1. The patient in bed number 8 has serious damage to his superpower core. The fire-type superpower in his body burns his muscles and veins, and his superpower is gradually lost. Anyone who has the means can accept a single trial. Reward, 500 red badges and patient-made toys. 2. The patient in bed number 10 has a wood-type superpower whose muscle veins are blocked, resulting in a continuous decline in the superpower level. The patient's mood is extremely unstable. If you don't have a successful treatment rate of more than 80%, please do not accept the task hastily. Please, those who accept tasks should be cautious. Reward, 500 red badges plus 1 free mecha design opportunity promised by the mecha master. 3. The patient in bed number 20 suffered from severe mania after coming off the battlefield. His superpower nuclear disorder also occurred. The mania caused by superpower nuclear riots worsened. He was awake for only 3 hours in a 24-hour day. Please be cautious when accepting tasks. If you cannot guarantee a success rate of more than 80%, please do not accept the order. Life is precious. If the tasker is injured during the patient's manic episode, he will not be compensated. Reward, 500 red badges add 80 hours of free training promised by the patient. After reading these treatment tasks at a glance, Bai Jianchun felt a little strange. Are all your sanatoriums accepting patients with superpower cores or muscle problems caused by superpowers? The staff member was stunned, scratched his head and said, "It seems so." The lady at the front desk was used to asking people to answer tasks. She smiled and said, "Because we are a nursing home here, we only receive people with major problems who need long-term treatment. Other patients who are easy to repair will send him directly to Yale Guangxing Hospital for treatment." "Oh, but why are these people who need long-term treatment all those with supernatural powers that have problems?" Bai Jianchun frowned slightly, but did not ask this doubt. Cao Jiajia, who was beside her, had no doubt at all. She punched her right hand with bright eyes and suddenly realized, no wonder the sanatorium invited my uncle to come. The medicines my uncle has recently researched are all related to the treatment of superpowers with damaged cores or problems related to damaged muscles and veins. He also said before that he would prepare a bottle of gold-boosting potion. It is said that if a metal-type superpower drinks the damaged superpower core, it can repair it, and the undamaged one can grow stronger. A flash of light suddenly flashed across Bai Jianchun's eyes, and he asked calmly, "Then was the preparation of this financial aid successful?" Cao Jiajia shook her head regretfully, "Not yet, but I heard that there are some ideas. A pharmacist friend of my uncle has formulated a yang-aiding medicine, but it has not passed clinical trials. As long as the yang-helping medicine is finally tested successfully, eventually, my uncle will be able to make a financial aid potion based on this data, and it is said that the success rate will not be less than 80. Bai Jianchun, that's right, Grandpa Cao Jiajia's friend should be the fat old man, Grandpa Mizu, who didn't run away. Gee, this world is really small. Bai Jianchun thought for a while, raised her head and said to the lady at the front desk, "Help me take on the first task." Cao Jiajia, the lady on duty and the young man all looked at her in shock. Cao Jiajia stammered and said with wide eyes, "Boss, you know how to treat supernuclear damage." The young man kindly persuaded, "Although patient number 8 is easy to talk to and there are no restrictions on taking on this task, but don't be impulsive. What if you use the wrong medicine and make the patient more serious, to be held accountable. The lady on duty was the calmest after being surprised. It's okay if the little girl wants to take it, as long as you remember not to use medicine or other means to harm the patient if you are unsure. Baiken Chun's eyes slightly curved, and she thanked her. I understand the importance. Please help me go through the formalities. Okay, the lady on duty was suddenly swayed by her confidence, and then her hands and feet started to move quickly. Cao Gia saw that things had been settled and couldn't be changed. She scratched her head and said tangledly, how about this, big brother, let's go to my uncle first and do the job of the assistant, and then I'll let my big brother do it. Grandpa will accompany you to see patient number 8 and give you a thorough explanation. Bai Qian-chun looked at her with a smile and did not refuse her kindness. After the lady on duty completed the formalities, they were led to the nursing home building. The luxury of this nursing home can be seen from the greenery outside and the decoration of the lobby. As expected, the decoration of the corridors, elevators, and wards inside is also excellent, bright and technological, luxurious, and elegant. The ward is more like a suite in a 5-star hotel, with a bedroom, living room, bathroom, and even a kitchen, which is particularly luxurious and complete. If the patients don't like it, they can spend their own money to modify the room according to their favorite style. The ward number 10 they are in must have been modified by the patients themselves. The whole room is in the Star C technology style. The wallpaper on the wall is a uniform cosmic black and dazzling stars. There are also exquisite and mighty mechas on the paintings. It looks like a mecha award. In addition, there are also a dazzling array of mecha models on the shelves in the living room. Various mecha making parts are stacked randomly on the coffee tables, and chairs, and there is an upright one in the corner that has not yet been installed. The shell looks like a skeleton humanoid mecha model. Cao Gia was not shocked at first glance when she came in. It seems that this patient is either a secondary mecha fan or a mecha master, but Cao Gia feels that the former is more likely, because in her impression, mecha masters are mature and steady research madmen. The decoration will definitely not be so fancy. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 97. Master Cao is having a detailed discussion with the patient in the bedroom. Please wait here. The young man took them to the living room of the ward and planned to leave, but as soon as he reached the door, he seemed to have thought of something. He first glanced at the bedroom door, then stepped back and whispered to them, "You'd better not mess with everything here." Master Avalon's temper is not very good, but his memory is very strong. He can spot even a small part placed in the wrong place. He was afraid that they wouldn't believe it, so he gave them an example. Last time, a little girl who took on the mission accidentally messed up 2 parts of Master Avalon while sitting on the sofa. She was found and was scolded. She was so bloody that the little girl didn't hold back and ran away crying, not even caring about the task she had endured for half an hour. This young man feels so sad. Master Avalon is the most difficult to serve person among the patients in their sanatorium, except for the patient who suffers from mania and can't control himself. As he spoke, he gave the 2 little girls a look of sympathy, as if he regarded them as the next victims. But the 2 girls' thoughts were not here at this time. Cao Gia's eyes moved quickly, and she asked curiously, "Master Avalon, is he the former number 1 mecha designer in the Empire?" Master Avalon, before the rise of Master Xian, the number 1 mecha manufacturing master. The 2 generations of SS-class mechas were all developed by Master Avalon under his leadership. The young man was stunned and said, "Ah, yes, that's Master Avalon." He smiled awkwardly. Ever since he saw Master Avalon's temper, he had ignored Master Avalon's aura as the former number 1 mecha master. Cao Gia was a little excited, but after all, the majors were different. This excitement was just the excitement of meeting a celebrity, not to the level of an idol. Then she saw her face became silent. Her two delicate eyebrows furrowed into caterpillars, and she said distressedly, "Well, since Master Avalon has taken away the people who took on the mission, does it mean that the mission has failed before an hour has passed? You guys also know more red stamps? Then wouldn't it mean that you're having sex for nothing?" The young man could only smile awkwardly but politely, and said bravely, "Those who fail to meet the minimum time limit according to regulations will indeed not be able to receive rewards." "Oh, it's really a waste of money. Then tell me how many of them took on this task and lasted for an hour. You don't have that expression anymore. Tisk tisk. Sure enough, you are well versed in the ways of capitalists. The reason for giving such generous rewards is to attract people to take the bait and give you prostitutes for free." The young man, who was almost knocked unconscious by the tricky questions, said, "I want to cry but I don't have any tears. He is just an ordinary working man. This is really none of his business. Don't make fun of him." As for Bai Qianshun, what was she thinking about? She was thinking about the previous task reward on the task bar. After treating patient number 10, she would get 500 red badges and a free mecha design opportunity promised by the mecha master. And this patient number 10 is a mecha master, which means that if he is treated well, he will get a chance to design a free mecha. Can this mecha design opportunity be changed into a meatball making robot design? She doesn't need a dedicated mecha or mecha design yet, but she lacks a robot to make balls. So Bai Qianshun was going to find an opportunity to talk to the Master of Avalon to see if the reward could be changed. Just when Bai Qianshun was thinking about things in her mind, the young man was grabbed by Cao Jia and kept asking questions. When he was desperate and wanted to run away, a loud and violent voice suddenly came from the direction of the bedroom, "Get out of here, get out, don't let me be your old boy's guinea pig." Cao Jia grabbed the hem of the young brother's clothes to prevent him from running away. "Oh, my temper is really bad. My uncle is such a good person, but he can bear to yell at him. But why do I feel this voice is so familiar?" Bai Qianshun withdrew her gaze from the bedroom door and glanced at Cao Jia subtly. "You heard me right. This voice is indeed that of a familiar person. Do you remember the grumpy old man who discounted your flowers in Central Park before?" Cao Jia's eyes suddenly widened. "It's him, no wonder." The hopeless young man raised his head curiously. "What's the discount? What's going on? I heard that Master Avalon was forcibly sent back by the patrol. Otherwise Master Cao might not have been able to find anyone when he came just now." When Cao Jia curled her lips and was about to say something, she saw the bedroom door opened with a bang, and an old man in a white undershirt walked out of the bedroom angrily. When he saw the two familiar little girls standing in the living room, the old man's already angry tube exploded, and he turned into an angry screaming chicken. "It's you, you two little girls, how dare you appearing here?" The old man's violent and harsh voice rang out in the living room, irritating everyone's eardrums. Even Bai Qianshun couldn't help but rub her ears, and then glanced at him lightly. "It's too noisy, the decibel level is extremely high." The old man's breath was stuck in his throat, his old face was twisted ferociously, and his eyes glared at her fiercely, but fortunately his mood had changed from violent to repressed anger. He grinned at his teeth and rolled his eyes, as if he suddenly thought of something. His angry face immediately turned into a smile, a sinister smile full of malice. "Hey, you are here, did you accept the mission? Then you will be beaten and scolded for the next hour. You must not talk back or look down on me, otherwise I will declare that you have failed the mission." The grumpy old man is indeed sinister. Grandpa Cao, who had an expressionless face and was as elegant as a bamboo, slowly walked out of the bedroom. His cold tone broke the old man's fantasy. "They are my assistants. It is not within their scope to beat or scold them." The grumpy old man's face froze when his treacherous plot could not succeed. Then he turned around and spat at Cao Tang. "Old Cao, you are just going against me, aren't you? I still don't believe that you can't deal with these two little girls. I want to report these two little girls. Anyone who can be an assistant must have medical knowledge. It seems that these two little girls are cheating and going through the back door. The consequences of this are that you will be compensated 10 for each fake, and you can just wait to be fined. Thinking of this, Avalon, who had been fined for damaging flowers and plants in Central Park, felt much better. These two little girls must have been fined more than him. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 98. Cao Gia said calmly, I am a pharmacist majoring in the medical department of a serious military academy. How could I not understand medical knowledge, so I didn't pretend to be false. Seeing the grumpy old man staring at her with red eyes, she twitched her lips and smiled, would you like to see my student certificate? As she said that, she turned on the optical brain and pulled out the information of the first-year students majoring in pharmacy in the Department of Medicine of the 1st Military Academy. It was a standard official website. They were innocent and could not be faked. Avalon could not find any faults. He puffed out his nose angrily and said through gritted teeth, even if you, a little girl, passed the test, what about another little girl? Can't she also be certified by a student? As he spoke, his gloomy eyes, which were filled with angry red bloodshot eyes, looked at Bai Qianshun, who was standing calmly next to Cao Gia. He still didn't believe it and couldn't catch anyone with the problem. Bai Qianshun raised her eyes to look at him and said calmly, that's not true. Ha ha ha, I just said there is a problem. Little girl, just wait to report it. And Mr. Cao, you are also promising. You actually cheated and used such a backdoor. This time I will catch you, ha 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 ha. The grumpy old man immediately shouted excitedly, pointing to the young man wearing a sanatorium uniform and saying proudly, you heard me, hurry up and find someone you can manage to give this little girl a fine, the heaviest penalty. The young man was trembling. He looked at the aggressive Master Avalon, and then at the expressionless Master Cao Ting who was wandering off to nowhere. He couldn't help but hold his head in his hands. He was dragged and couldn't escape in time. He's an ordinary melon eater, why should this matter be brought to his head? He really doesn't want to offend anyone. Seeing that the boy was still reluctant to move, Avalon looked at him with a sinister look on his face, and threateningly said, why don't you move still? I'll complain to your dean. This directly poked at the weak point of the workers. The young man could not bear the pressure of being fired, so he could only grit his teeth and choose to feel sorry for the girl with the mask he had just met. Bai Qianshun held his shoulders and said, wait a minute. The young man stopped immediately and turned to look at her in surprise. Avalon also looked at her with contempt in his eyes, what, you still want to quibble? Or if you beg me, I can consider not reporting you. The most important thing is to give the same tone as in the park. If it weren't for this articulate girl, he wouldn't have been taken away by the patrol team in despair. Although he didn't suffer much, he lost face. This for the proud mecha master, that was even worse than physical pain. Bai Qianshun glanced at him and said with a slight smile, I don't want to quibble. I just want to prove that I am not just a fake. I also know medical knowledge, and I can also treat diseases and save people. As she said this, she glanced sideways at the young man before Ava could speak again, and said in a low voice, the patient number 8 whom I took on the treatment task before, take me there to find him. Ah! Do you really want treatment? The young man looked at her tremblingly, his eyes widened and he asked in disbelief. There was a hesitant expression on his face. It was okay for this girl to want to try before, but now Master Avalon is watching. If she can't cure people, then this is not a good thing. Got it? Moreover, the patient on the 8th has a serious health problem. So many excellent doctors on their shaking light planet and the pharmacists they invited could not cure him. Can this little girl do it? Caogia is also a little worried. Although the boss is a big boss in the field of fertility plants, it does not mean that he is also a big boss in treating diseases. Even Cao Ting's dull eyes focused a little and looked over with a bit of inquiry. Avalon was the only one present with eyes that were filled with excitement as he watched a good show, and he couldn't wait to urge, "Let's go, let's see if you, a little girl, can cure people. If you can't cure them, you can't. Don't blame me for causing you to bleed profusely." So the group of people came to ward number 8 with their own thoughts. Compared with Avalon's self-renovated secondary ward room, ward number 8 is half the size, but the bedroom, living room, and kitchen are also complete, similar to an ordinary single apartment. It is clean and tidy. It doesn't seem to be popular, except for a pot of flowering cactus placed on the windowsill of the bedroom, which has a lively atmosphere. "Who are you?" In front of the huge and quiet hospital bed, a thin young man wearing a white shirt turned around in surprise, his dark eyes looking at them warily like a wolf cub. The staff member who was squeezed behind the door quickly squeezed his head in and explained to the young man with a dry smile, "Jian Yang, don't be nervous. Someone has taken over the task of treating your brother, so I brought them here." Who knew that this thin, poor-looking young man looked at them with even more vigilance. This reaction is wrong. Bai Qianchun narrowed her eyes slightly and looked through him at the person on the bed. He was a young man with pale lips and thin skin, and a faint look of handsomeness between his eyebrows. He was wearing an empty and ill-fitting blue shirt. He was wearing a colorful striped hospital gown, with his arms pressed against the quilt and placed on both sides of his body, lying down neatly. At this time, his eyes were tightly closed, and his eyes were green and black. Thin beads of sweat were coming out quickly one by one on his forehead. His skinny and almost sunken cheeks had a strange crimson color, and he was breathing heavily while gasping. Frowning, as if he was immersed in a painful nightmare. This should be the patient number 8 whose superpower core is damaged and whose fire-type superpowers burn his veins. It seems that he has suffered a lot. Jian Yang, a thin young man standing in front of them, noticed her gaze keenly. He couldn't help but frown. He lowered his voice in displeasure and said fiercely, "You guys go out, my brother finally fell asleep. Don't disturb him. Don't disturb him. Your previous treatment was useless and aggravated my brother's condition. I will never let you treat my brother at will again." The young staff member was also very embarrassed, "But your brother can live here for free, but he signed an agreement. You are like this." Avalon had a sullen face, lowered his voice, and scolded him sarcastically, "The patient can see the patient if he wants to see it. Why, it makes sense for you to treat the patient and make him more serious." Cao Jiajia and Bai Qianchun were both a little surprised as they watched him speak righteously. Avalon glanced at them and sneered, "Why, I can't be fair. As a patient, I know the pain of patients best. I insist on treating them even though they are incompetent, which makes the condition worse. The more they suffer, the more patients they treat me as guinea pigs, don't they? Hee, old man, I won't be happy to cooperate anymore." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 99. Bai Qianchun looked into his eyes with contempt, disdain, and suppressed impatience and anger. It seemed that the old man really wasn't lying. This was a sign of empathy between patients. Xiao Yang, a weak and gentle male voice sounded in the room. The man lying on the bed didn't know when he woke up. At this time, his pale thin lips were slightly raised, and he was looking in their direction with a spring breeze smile on his face. Although there was sweat on his forehead and he was as thin as a skeleton, his smiling eyes were still warm. If you look carefully, you can still see the strong willpower deep in his eyes. In the face of the pain of life and death, Some people are restless and struggle desperately, not wanting to lose, such as the irritable old man Master Avalon. Some people are calm and wait, knowing that I have lost my life, watching the clouds rolling and relaxing, waiting for the end. Come, for example, the sickly handsome man in front of you is weak and thin, but he has a strong character in his bones. A nervous look immediately appeared on the young man Jianyang's face. He turned around in a panic, walked to the bed in a hurry and said, "Brother, why did you wake up after just a few minutes of sleep? Did I wake you up by talking just now, is you?" The man smiled softly at him, his pale thin lips curved, and comforted, "I'm fine, don't be nervous, let the guests come in, didn't you say you want to treat me?" Jianyang frowned tightly, but obedient. The two gentle words made the little wolf cub immediately calm down. Although he had a grieved and reluctant expression on his face, he still said to the few people at the door, "Come in." The sickly handsome man lying on the bed also looked over with a smile, scanning the faces of Bai Qianchun and the four of them one by one, and finally stayed on Cao Ting's face for a second longer. Then he spoke warmly, "Who picked up on you, my mission to heal me?" Bai Qianchun walked quickly in front of a few people and said quietly, "It's the mission I took." The little wolf cub suddenly became furious and stared at him fiercely, "Are you kidding me? Are you really using my brother as a guinea pig?" Even the beautiful sick man on the bed had a look of surprise on his face, but he quickly calmed down his emotions, shouted to Jianyang who was about to explode, and looked at her with a gentle expression, and spoke considerately. Explained his condition. "The damage to my superpower core has become more and more serious in the past half-month. The fire element is flowing out uncontrollably and burning my veins. My whole body is in pain and I can't sleep at night. I can only relieve the pain by not moving. I wonder if the girl can help me relieve pain or let me have a good sleep." Although the sickly handsome man had a gentle voice and a warm smile, and his voice seemed to be kept at a steady pace in order to slow down the pain, and no fluctuations could be heard, Bai Qianchun could still hear his good intentions and distrust. He was showing respect. A girl, instead of trusting a doctor to treat him. Bai Qianchun raised her eyebrows and her voice became calmer, "Okay, I'll take your pulse first and see the specific situation in your body before talking about treatment." Check the pulse. The sickly handsome man's eyes revealed a bit of curiosity. Bai Qianchun stretched out her hand and pulled Jianyang away, who was blocking the way. She took the seat in front of his bed, then pulled a fabric chair to the side and sat down. Then she stretched out her hand to touch the beautiful sick man and put it on her body. On the side of his wrist, a light wood-type supernatural power penetrated his body. Suspicion flashed across the eyes of the beautiful sick man on the bed. He seemed to feel something, but the pain in his veins quickly made him ignore this slight difference. Jianyang. Dare to be angry but dare not speak. He frowned and struggled in place for a while. Finally, he grabbed his hair and stood there without moving. He just stared at Bai Qianchun's movements without blinking. As long as she made any move, he would immediately stop her. Seeing this, Avalon, the irritable old man who followed him, rarely remained quiet and calm. He walked to the fabric sofa opposite and sat down, staring at Bai Qianchun with bright eyes. Cao Jiajia felt a little uneasy. She looked at her uncle with worried eyes, hoping that he could find some way to treat her. If the little sister she brought couldn't be cured, she could let her uncle take care of her. In this way, the matter would not be a problem. So terrible. But Cao Ting looked over with a dull look, shook her head slightly at her with an expressionless face, and said quietly, "His condition is more serious than Avalon's. It means that there is nothing he can do." He wasn't even completely sure of Avalon's injury. "Ah, what can we do?" Cao Jiajia muttered in disappointment, and even the staff member beside her who listened for a while was also heartbroken. "All the girls who came with me said so." Could it be that the girl wearing the mask was just pretending to be more impressive? After all, there was really no sign of nervousness or timidity in her movements. She was more stable than other doctors and pharmacists he had entertained. In front of the bed, Bai Qianchun, who was being watched and worried, slowly took back his hand, raised a pair of dark and bright eyes and fell on the sickly beauty, and opened his lips and said, "You are lying." "What?" young Jianyang shouted excitedly. There was also a flash of surprise in the sickly handsome man's eyes, but he quickly returned to his gentle smile. "Where did I lie? I wonder if the girl will explain." Bai Qianchun glanced at him lightly and said slowly, "Your superpower core has been broken into pieces for a long time. You didn't start feeling more and more painful half a month ago, but within a month before. Half a month ago was when your superpower core began to collapse and the fire elements inside rebelled. Until these 2 days, there was not much fire element left in your body. You should have felt it. When your body once the last fire element is lost, your life will come to an end. How is it possible? You are talking nonsense. How could my brother be like this? How could he die?" Jianyang's eyes were red and he immediately yelled and retorted, not believing it. The beautiful sick man Jianzhan, who was lying on the bed, calmed down after the initial shock. A wry smile finally appeared on his gentle and calm face. "You are right, I do not have much time left." Brother Jianyang panicked and stumbled over to hold his hand. Tears fell uncontrollably and he said in pain, "How could this happen? Tell me she is talking nonsense." "No, why didn't you tell me earlier? I can find useful medicine, and I can also make an appointment in the holy pool. I will take you to the holy pool on the light source star. I will soon have enough money. Really, I can take you there, brother. You can't die, you can't leave me alone, you are the only relative I have left. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs." Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 100. Jianzhan twitched the corner of his mouth, looked at him helplessly and said, "It's useless. The holy pool can only treat trauma and recuperate the body. It has little effect on the damage of superpower cores like mine. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many superpowers coming out every year." The soldier in question has retired. "Be obedient and keep your star coins for yourself. Don't you remember that you promised me to go to military school before?" Jianyang wiped away his tears and stubbornly gritted his teeth and shook his head. "I don't. Regardless of whether it's useful or not, I will send my brother to the holy pool. Moreover, I only need to prepare the travel expenses for the military school. Just like you did before. Wait. Once I pass the exam, I won't need any other expenses." Listening to his innocent thoughts, Jianzhan became even more helpless. You have been obsessed with money recently. Didn't you see the announcement on the Huayao Empire's official website? Now that the official documents of the empire have been issued, starting from next year, if you want to enter the military academy, you must not only pass for more stringent assessments, tuition fees will also need to be paid. These words not only hit Jianyang's innocent little head like a huge thunder, but also hit Bai Qianchun's forehead at the same time. She could barely maintain her calm mood and revealed a hint of impatience. After 3 seconds, she moved her thin lips, her long eyelashes trembling slightly and asked, why do you suddenly start charging?" I know. The Cao Jia, who was standing at the door, twitched her ears and quickly raised her hands. "Because the Huayao Empire has now formally signed a contract with the Orc Empire and reached a peaceful coexistence agreement, the Empire in recent years no longer needs to continuously send soldiers to the front line. In the past, the reason why military school students had free study benefits was because of the need for war preparation. Only by cultivating more outstanding talents can we win the war. But now war is no longer the main theme of the Empire, and the military academy that supports millions of military students for free is undoubtedly the biggest burden on the Empire today. This huge burden will naturally be eliminated after the Empire enters the peaceful stage. This was an agreement that the empire had made before the military academy began to accept students free of charge. Starting next year, I, a student who is already attending a military academy, will have to pay my own way, so I came to Yale Guangxing to get some tuition. There is no way, the life of poor students saving money is so miserable. Bai Qianchun also felt that she was miserable. She originally planned to go to a military academy next year, but it was a coincidence that he couldn't catch up with the fee. Great, there is one more reason to make money. She looked solemn, no longer delayed, and asked the two brothers who were still pushing each other back and forth over who should spend the money, "Don't be anxious, you two. Let me ask first, your brother is in a nursing home who spent the money?" Jian Yang turned to her with red eyes and said suspiciously, "Of course it's a nursing home. My brother signed an agreement when he moved in. As long as all his expenses in the nursing home are borne by the nursing home, why do you ask?" "Oh, that's good. Then I can take the medicine with confidence." Bai Qianchun breathed a sigh of relief for the two brothers who were also short of money. Then, under the puzzled eyes of the two brothers, he stood up and walked to the staff member. He said quickly in front of him, "I need some medicinal materials for treatment. Your sanatorium should have a medicinal material library. Send them to me as soon as possible." "Ah," the staff member opened his mouth wide and stared at her blankly. After confirming that she didn't mean to joke, he asked in shock, Do you have a way to cure it?" Bai Qianchun raised her eyebrows, her dark eyes filled with emotion. "What else? Do you want me to bring some medicinal materials to play with?" No, that's not what I meant." The staff member hurriedly shook his head like a rattle, showed an awkward smile, and then explained bravely, "We invited many pharmacist masters before, and they all proposed to use medicinal materials." "Mean?" Then the little brother's face showed an indescribable expression, but the medicines they made were not very useful, and some of them were completely inconsistent with the patient's symptoms, and then they took away this part of the medicines that did not meet the patient's symptoms. Although there are many medicinal materials in the sanatorium, they cannot withstand such a large consumption, so now you need to apply to use the medicinal material library, and the loss will be reduced quantitatively." Bai Qianchun and Cao Jiajia, who was listening with their ears pricked up, both showed shocked expressions. "My dear, these master pharmacists are prostitution for free." "Bai Qianchun, are all pharmacists so good now? Why hadn't she thought of this method before?" She lost. Cao Jiajia, yes, the tasks of caring for patients set up in sanatoriums are also quite rogue. Now that the situation has changed, they are being used by the master pharmacists. Cao Jiajia has no sympathy for them at all. Then she couldn't help but secretly glance at her eldest grandpa. Even though her eldest grandpa looked like a brilliant man who could see through the ordinary world, and he also held the title of first-class pharmacy master, he was actually quite poor. It can be said that those engaged in pharmaceutical research in the empire are quite poor. Firstly, medicinal materials cost money, and secondly, they cannot be sold and make no money. Combining the two, no matter how rich the pharmacist master is, will become poor. It is said that the old president of the Pharmacist Association, that the chief pharmacist, who sells a lot of potions he developed himself, is actually not doing much better. According to rumors, he hasn't changed into new clothes in 3 years. This is really heartbreaking to hear. Cao Jiajia felt deeply worried about her future career as a pharmacist. But this is not the point. The point is that the reason why Grandpa, a big otaku, accepted the invitation from Fluttering Star and came out of his research laboratory this time, is it possible that he also wanted to prostitute the medicinal materials in the sanatorium for free? She seemed to have heard her uncle say that there was a shortage of certain medicinal materials, but they were too expensive. Cao Tingruo raised her eyes and looked over. Cao Jiajia quickly withdrew her probing gaze and smiled flatteringly at him, saying that she didn't think about anything. In the end, the staff member agreed to Baikin Chun's demand for medicinal materials and submitted an application. It has to be said that the efficiency of the sanatorium is still very high. 3 minutes after the application was submitted, dedicated service staff soon delivered the medicinal materials to the door, only reducing the amount that Bai Chun deliberately increased by half. Hey, I really don't want to let her take advantage at all. But these medicinal materials are all available on her Muyuan planet, and she doesn't care about them at all. The medicinal materials were put in a box and delivered to Bai Chun. The staff member took one look at it and then carefully looked into Baikin Chun's eyes and asked, "Do you need to go to the laboratory? We have prepared 5 pharmaceutical configurations in the sanatorium. The laboratory is fully equipped." Bai Chun paused as she walked towards the kitchen, then turned to look at him. "Is there a pot there?" "What?" The staff member looked confused, and he was a little confused. "Why do you need a pot? Do you need a pot to prepare potions? Is this your special technique, girl? How about I apply for one for you?"